What's up, everybody? I'm Dave Miranda, and this is episode 9 of Just Give Me 5. Hope you guys are doing well and staying safe out there, not out rushing the Capitol or anything. Whatever, right? Whatever, yo. Yo, if you guys caught episode 8, we had my brother Metaphorical on, and yo, let me tell you, he had me ready to get on YouTube and look up all those old fights again. Classic stuff right there, classic stuff. I love Metaphorical, man. That's my brother for real, man. So check this out, quick story. In 2014, it was 2014, we were living together, and we had a studio inside of the crib. And, one day we were talking, we were like, yo, we should do an EP together. So with my last name being Miranda and his last name being Wright, we were gonna call it Miranda Wrights. And so it never happened, and that's pretty much the end of that story. But yo, man, salute to my brother Metaphorical, man, and make sure you guys watch episode 8 for real. But today's guest is like the ambassador of Arizona hip hop. I mean, his company, TMC Presents, is basically the reason that hip hop shows even existed in the state. I mean, the guy brought Biggie out here, for crying out loud, fam. Like, what are we doing, yo? Like, we're not playing no games, bruh. And then later on, his mother, God rest her soul, Audie Carter, had her own entertainment business called Attitude Promotions, and we're gonna definitely get into that as well. So ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, I present to you Tyree Michael Carter.
What's up? I'm Tyree Michael Carter. All I'm saying is just give me 5. Oh wow, where to begin? All right. So the year was 1990, and I did a birthday party for me and 2 of my close friends, and we called it the Leo Celebration. And basically got a keg and charged, I think, like $3, and it was a success. And at the end of the night, I was like, I like this. I can get used to this, being the man of the hour, partying and making a little bit of money. So from there, I'd say I spent the next year basically throwing house parties, keg parties, and I was that guy that would basically go up to an acquaintance or a good friend, hey, let me borrow your backyard for the weekend, and give them $100 or whatever and start throwing house parties. And the parties started getting so big, 200-300 people showing up, that the cops were, breaking the parties up all the time. So I had to start thinking bigger, and what could I do to elevate this? So I remember one night, me and a couple friends were hanging out in Tempe at Club UM, I believe, and somebody had given me a business card, and it said the Blue Light on it. So it's like after hours, 2-3 in the morning, and we basically called this number on this business card, and it gives us an address, and we go to this address, and it's a big giant warehouse, and they got a DJ in there and a bunch of low blue lights lit, and we had a ball, and I was just like, wow, this is crazy. It was basically a rave before I'd ever heard the term rave. So the light bulb went off in my head, and I was basically like, okay, this could be the next step. So that following Monday, I call I drive back down to the warehouse, and the warehouse is all boarded up like nothing had ever happened. And I was like, that's weird. So I get a hold of the realtor and call the realtor about the property, asking how I could rent the warehouse. And he's like, oh, that warehouse is condemned. It's not for rent, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh man, these dudes done broke into the warehouse and threw a party. So from that moment on, I spent the next year basically driving around looking for abandoned warehouses and started throwing illegal warehouse parties. And called my good friend Joe Valente, DJ Soul Man, and basically, we started popping off parties, kegs, and $5 at the door, and they were just absolutely insane. And from there, he started a band called the Funk Junkies. So we kind of joined forces, and they were the band, I was the promoter, and we did a series of parties that basically ran for about 8 months to a year. And at the time, the company was called Lollipop Productions, because I didn't want to use my real name, because they were all illegal parties, and cops were, be looking for me, or detectives or whatever. Right. So basically, I had to, I passed out lollipops at the front door of all the events as a kind of like my little trademark. And the Funk Junkies and the security team that we had like a pact that they would never rat me out. So when the cops showed up and I took off with the money, the cops would be asking the Funk Junkies or the security, who hired you, and basically they had my back, and we just made up a fictitious character named John with gold teeth. So it was kind of crazy. So I'd always get together and pay the bands and security and the DJs later on that night, or sometimes the next day. And from there, basically, the warehouse era came to an end, because the cops weren't falling for the rented warehouse or whatever, and basically they caught on to our little scam we had going on. So they just started full on raiding the parties. So basically, at the end of that era, I basically learned how to get in touch with agents, and my first first act that I booked with an agent was the Far Side for a show called Escape Fest. And that was downtown Phoenix Civic Plaza. It was the Funk Junkies, Far Side, Face to Face, the Generics, and DJ Z-Trip. And it was basically it was a legitimate event, and we did like 2,000-3,000 people. And that was basically the start of TMC Presents. So yeah, about those warehouse parties, the crazy thing is I had a full operation going that went down, to where we had police scanners. And basically, when I was driving around looking for these empty warehouses, I would always try to find a warehouse that had some type of a fence or perimeter around the warehouse. And basically, cops have to have a search warrant to get on private property. So these warehouses, I would get fake leases, find out who the real realtor is, put his name on there. And basically, when the cops showed up to bust these warehouse parties or whatever was going on, there was only one point of entrance and one point of exit. So I'd have a guy that kind of knew the law and was crazy enough to deal with the cops. He'd be out on the perimeter, and basically when the cops showed up, he'd whip out the fake lease agreements and be like, "Let me see your search warrant. You don't have, you don't basically can't come on the private property." So I'd say for the first 6 months, first 6 parties, it worked like a charm. The cops actually turned their lights off and turned around and drove off as the party continued. But once they started doing their investigations and they were looking around for this fictitious character named John with gold teeth, they realized that it wasn't real, and they weren't falling for our fake leases anymore. Oh, greatest show memories. I got a couple of them for you. First one is, it was the Fugees, the Roots, and Goody Mob all on tour together right when Fuji La and Ready or Not was hitting. And it was pretty much the biggest show at that time that I did. And it was at the Electric Ballroom in Tempe. And all performing with live bands, which was amazing for hip hop shows. So basically, the Goody Mob's bus broke down, and by the time they got it repaired and back on the road, they were running way behind schedule. So the show opens up with the Roots. It was supposed to be Goody Mob going on first, the Roots, then the Fugees. But the show opened up with the Roots, and then the Fugees were next. But the crowd, the sold out show, nobody knew anything that was going on as far as behind the scenes or whatever. So when the Fugees came out, they came out with Jason mask on. All Lauryn Hill, Praz, and Wyclef all had masks on, and they had the live band up there, and they started their show with Cell Therapy with the keys, dun 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 dun, yeah. And then basically they went right into we number 10. Now we permanently number 1. Into the right into the Fugees joint, and the crowd lost their mind. So that was an amazing memory. The Fugees did their whole set, and then the Goody Mob showed up and actually closed the show that night. So that was an amazing amazing memory. So another crazy memory is is dealing with the Wu-Tang Clan. That was pretty much my biggest show. I was at Veterans Memorial Coliseum in '97, and it was the whole Wu. And if you know anything about the Wu-Tang Clan, it's just chaos. You don't know if they're gonna show up, all of them. You don't know if there's gonna be a cancellation. They had a reputation for beating up promoters.
Yeah.
All of the above. So it's a recipe for disaster. But anyways, I was excited when we booked the show, and they were basically on tour with Rage Against the Machine for that big tour that they were doing in the race parks. Wu-Tang and Rage, two of the biggest forces, joined together for that tour. And they didn't do Phoenix as far as the Rage and the Wu show, so they only did like 10 major markets. So I booked the Wu-Tang on a spot date, which means that's a date where it's in between the Rage Wu tour. So I booked the Wu-Tang Clan, and basically I was nervous from the day that I booked the show, just wondering if this is going to really happen or whatever. So then I think a week before the show, Rage Against the Machine kicked the Wu-Tang kicks Wu-Tang off the tour for some drama they had going on. So I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. So nonetheless, I called the promoter in San Diego, who also had a solo Wu-Tang show 2 nights before my show, and he said the show went off, they were all there, yada, 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 so we're good. So the morning of my show, their manager calls me up and says, how long does it take to get to Phoenix? How long does it take to drive to Phoenix? How long does it take to fly to Phoenix? I told him 2-hour flight or 6.5-hour drive. He's like, cool, we'll see you there. Didn't tell me if he was flying or driving, and that was the morning of the show. So come showtime, we haven't heard from the Wu-Tang. They're not answering their phone. We don't know what's going on. Sound check comes, no Wu-Tang Clan. I got spent like $2,500 on catering, had the full spread for catering, all went to waste, no Wu-Tang Clan. So basically that night, I had No Question open up, the Alcoholics, and DJ Z-Trip. So No Question does their set, the Alcoholics do their set, and now we're waiting for Wu-Tang. Still haven't heard from them. So Z-Trip's basically holding the crowd down for like 2 hours, I want to say. Just literally waiting for 2 hours while Z-Trip's just trying to keep the crowd entertained. They're starting to get restless. So at this point, the general manager calls the owner of the Coliseum. They come down to hear that we haven't gotten in touch with the headliner or whatnot. So they come down. They call all these sheriffs in and basically tell me to start preparing a cancellation speech and to ask the crowd to leave in peace. They got their riot gear ready to go. I mean, it's a nightmare happening right before my eyes. And just as I'm getting ready to walk out there and deliver this cancellation speech, out of the corner of my eye in the back of the Coliseum, if you've ever been back there, they got 2 ramps that come down. I see 8 black SUVs rolling in slow motion, just and I'm just like, oh my God, here they are. So the doors open up, smoke pours out of all the SUVs, and they're like 30 deep. Wow. And I'm looking for meth, for dirty. I don't see them, but at this point I'm like, I don't even care. Just get in there and do the show. Right. And nonetheless, they went in there, killed it, did what Wu-Tang does, and I actually made, it was a bittersweet. It was the most money I'd ever made on a show, but I had to earn every penny of it that night. Oh, Notorious B.I.G. That was one of my milestones and trophies that I'm very proud of. He was amazing. Super humble dude, down to earth. We smoked a blunt backstage before he went on. I hung out with Little C's, his whole crew. And one thing that stuck in my head after Biggie got done performing that night, he jumps down off the stage into the crowd, goes to the back door of Club Rio and stood there and shook every single fan's hand before they left the building. And I just thought, wow, no security, nothing, just Biggie in the crowd. It was dope. Nice. Dope. Oh, Audie, God rest her soul, most amazing woman on this earth. My mom, she's one of a kind, and if you know her, you know what I'm talking about. So basically, you know the saying, if you can't trust your mom, who can you trust? So basically, that's once I got to the level with my company where we were starting to generate thousands and thousands of dollars at the front door for people purchasing walk-up tickets. I had to put somebody up there that I trust, and if you can't trust moms, who can you trust? So she started working the door at all my shows and basically fell in love with hip-hop over the course of 10 years. And all the national artists that I would bring to town, the Roots, everybody loved my mom. When they would pull in for sound check, first question out of their mouths would be, "Yo, where Mom Duke's at?" Always made put a big smile on my face. But so throughout the years of working the door, I might add that she's German and very, very tough German attitude. She didn't play. So, you know, working the front door is not just taking cash, but you got people trying to hustle their way into the show, or guest list problems, or I know Ty, or go get Ty. I had to shut all that down, and nobody did it better than my mom. She was no play, give me your money, or keep it moving. So over the course of the 10 years, she met, you know, all of the local people, all the local artists. You know, there were people that would give my mom demos to give to me, for me to listen to get on shows or whatever. So she basically kind of took advantage of her little position right there and started to accumulate so much rapport with the local scene that she started her own promotion called Attitude Promotions, which is so fitting, and started you know, booking all her own local shows. And we kind of had like a little tag team thing going. I was doing all the national stuff, and Mom's was holding down the local scene. And I think she did it for like 10 years. Attitude Promotions helped out a lot of artists, was a huge platform for the local scene and aspiring artists in town. Well, my goal with TMC Presents was always to put smiles on people's faces by bringing their favorite artists to town and get away from the grind and from work and, you know, personal problems or whatever, and just come to the TMC show for that 4 hours and just enjoy yourself and let your hair down, basically. So if, you know, that makes me special and loved by the people that attended my shows, I'll take it. Shout out to God, for without him, nothing is possible. Shout out to my mom and my dad, may their souls rest in heaven. Shout out to Mr. Peabody. Shout out to Poker Face, Mike Wild, DJ Daryl D. Shout out to all the street teams that helped TMC throughout the years. Shout out to all the local DJs, to all the local artists that performed throughout the years. Shout out to the whole AZ hip hop scene in as a whole, and shout out to you, and shout out to Mr. Miranda on Just Give Me 5. Peace.
And there you have it. Much love and respect to my man Tyree Michael Carter, man. You, sir, are a true gem, a wonderful human being, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you contributed and put on for the scene out here. Salute to you, sir. You know, this show was started so that we could give those who deserve it their flowers while they're still alive. They could smell them, and you, my man, are definitely well deserving of it. So I salute you, I thank you, and God rest your mother, Audie Carter. You know, I was fortunate enough to, back in the day, to perform at a couple of her events. And I remember her telling me that she enjoyed my music, and, you know, she just showed a lot of love, and that's something that I'll forever be grateful for. So God rest her soul as well. Make sure you follow him on social media. Shout out to my good brother Jimmy Nelson on camera. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I hope you guys enjoyed this show, because I did. Much love, man, and until next time, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay healthy. Just give me 5, yo.